All right, folks, strap in. The 2024-2025 campaign was less a roller coaster and more a slow-motion car crash at Old Trafford, false dawns, midfield meltdowns, and to see how United's front line managed to pack less bite than a bag of gummy bears. Tonight, we're peeling back every shaky layer to see how United managed to turn optimism into ashes again. What a season, sir.
This is the 24-25 season recap podcast. You didn't know you needed it, but we do this every single year, and we're going to be tearing down this absolutely terrible season. United crashing to 15th in the Premier League, their worst season in our lifetimes, and since they were relegated. There's lots of fingers to point. We're going to give away our best of the season awards, our worst of the season awards. Stick around. We also have the recap for our match prediction game. We predicted all 59 matches and all comps for Manchester United. Who came out on top?
59.
Was it Alex?
Not me.
Was it myself? There was a stake bet on the line. But before we jump into that, we're going to talk about our season-ending podcast survey. For the American Red Devils, it's been a hell of a season in 24-25. We launched our YouTube channel. We've been trying a lot of different things on the podcast. We need your feedback. You can check out the link. It's pinned on our Twitter page, and you get entered to win over $100 in swag, ARD swag. That's hats, that's blankets, that's shirts, that's hoodies. Depending on your size, we got you covered. All we need is 5 minutes of your time. Let us know what you like about the podcast. Let us know what you hate about the podcast. We use all this feedback, and we're going to change it up for next season. We're always trying to get better. We're for fans, by fans. And we truly value what you have to say. So please check out our season-ending survey. And also, some of you might have seen it. We launched our Manchester United newsletter that's going to cover everything from Manchester United, top to bottom, transfer news, and podcast updates. You can check this out. The link is in the description below on YouTube, and it's also on our Twitter page. Just click on the link, sign up, join our newsletter. We'll be sending out information on a weekly basis for Manchester United fans around the world. We're very excited to jump into that. But the PSA is over, sir. It is time to get into this horrid season. 24-25. Coming in, we didn't think it was going to be that bad.
We did not think it was going to be this bad. We always make predictions headed into a new season, as one should, and we both were way, way wrong. We obviously, just to remind folks, 15th place, 42 points, United's worst Premier League finish and lowest points tally since the top flight was rebranded in 1992. Record low 44 league goals. The Tax set a brand new basement level of scoring, breaking the previous record of 49 under Louis van Gaal. And geez, I remember how brutal the season that was from a goal perspective. And last but not least, minus 10 finishing delta. So we underperformed XG by 10 goals. I think the second most of any club in the EPL. So for around 55 XG, we only converted into 44 goals. Meaning the forwards left roughly 10 goals and a chunk of points on the table. I'm looking at you, Rasmus Højlund, sir. Keep the stat breakdown coming. Talk about those 18 league losses. Those are fun, too.
Yeah, it was a horrid season.
Horrid.
18
Horrid.
Kick in the nuts. We had 18 losses, most defeats since 1973-74. 54 goals conceded, minus 10 goal differential. And if we didn't think we'd get worse than last year, we actually did. And it included 8 home defeats. So again, Old Trafford once was a fortress under Sir Alex Ferguson, but continues to fall. The real question is, okay, 24-25 is behind us. Are we going to be trying to catch the knife? Is this a dead bounce in 25-26? What can we really expect from Ruben Amorim, especially after losing the Europa League final, the second loss in the Europa League final, first under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now under Ruben Amorim?
And this one, in my opinion, is this Muppets take was worse than the Villarreal loss, 4 years ago. I think it all depends on INEOS. Obviously, the lead into this pod in the first place was worst Premier League season in our lifetime. We're hoping it's not worse Premier League season so far, thus far, because I hope this is the bottom. I hope this is truly, the bottom of the valley before we climb our way back up. But I think a lot of that is going to be depending on, is the three at the back legit? Is that even workable in the Premier League? With some of the players that we can get in next season. And secondly, INEOS. Are they able to effectively build this squad more to the nature that Ruben Amorim is looking to build based on, a lot of sell to buy necessity, right? We need, beyond the first couple signings that we've heard about, obviously Cunha's in the door. That's really exciting. And Buemo's kind of quieted down a little bit. Spurs are apparently poking around now that Frank moved across London to the Spurs side. But beyond that, you're going to have to sell Rashford, Anthony, Garnacho, that's not even something that I'm excited about, us getting rid of one of our most promising youngsters. So I think a lot of it is dependent on INEOS. At the same time, it is Ruben Amorim's philosophy is legit in the first place. We've seen it work in the Champions League, but that was a falling City side. So is it even something to build a team around? There's still so many questions around this, especially given his stubbornness in that final, a very winnable final that I'm still not over, not even close to over.
All right, before we get into the proper recap where we go through all the transfers in the summer transfer window and month-by-month performances, which we definitely need to just put everything behind us here, we had our predictions going into the season. How did we do, sir?
How'd we do?
League finish, I said 7th. Alex said 6th. So I would say I edge you there just slightly. We both didn't think we were going to do well. Remember, Erik ten Hag coming in. A decent amount of money spent before the start of the season in 2024. Trophy haul, I said we would win no trophies, which actually was correct. Alex, you predicted we would win the Europa League, which you were very close.
Almost.
So I'm going to say point to me. 2 points on the prediction there.
What do you want, another steak, bro?
I'm just trying to look at this Europa League finish. I said we would make it to the semifinals. You said we would win, so we can maybe split the baby there. Player of the season, I said Garnacho. That was definitely wrong. You said Bruno, so I'll give you a point
Safe
there.
bet
That's
right there.
definitely right. Top goal scorer, you said Bruno. I said Garnacho. And for
Alex.
most improved, I think we're tied here on predictions coming into the season. I said most improved. I said Ahmad. I think that is a point. You said Mount would be most improved.
he
So
was
I'm
not-
going to
you
go
win that one.
3-2. I'm going to win the predictions coming in. But I think we had a good view of United. We were coming in not expecting a lot under Erik ten Hag. We struggled the season before. They backed him probably too much. They kept him under strange circumstances. And that's really setting the table for the summer transfer window coming into it. So you just want to break down the incoming signings and how we did in the summer of 24 and what transfers we had got going.
Yeah, let's go through it quickly. This was INEOS' first summer kind of behind the wheel, even though they were slowly coming in the summer. First one was Joshua Zirkzee, the Dutchman, 36.5 million pounds, 23-year-old. He came from Bologna FC, as you like to call it, a 5-year contract, 105,000 pounds a week. This one, you and I were both curious about, concerned about, because he's a false 9. We needed a number 9 to take some of the pressure off Rasmus Højlund. He's very much not an out-and-out number 9. You know, I thought he looked like a talented player. He played at Bayern, but I had concerns. We both had concerns about his just kind of out-and-out scoring ability.
Yeah, it went about what you would think. It was a unique profile of a player that if United had the full squad humming, you could throw in there to give a different look. But the fact that we were just missing an out-and-out number 9, and Erik ten Hag went with his Dutch boy, the results were mixed and inconsistent, and that's what you would expect for somebody settling into the league like Zirkzee. We'll see if we wheel and deal or he's part of the squad. But, that was a big signing. We splashed some cash there. Also got Lenny Euro. You're a big fan.
I mean, he was in terms of the profile, one of the top rated center backs for his age group, 18 years old. There was a lot of talk about him going to Real Madrid the following season. But we came in, we offered him bigger wages. So he signed up for 52 million pounds, the 18-year-old, 115,000 pounds a week out of League One from Lille. And I like this. I like the signing because I know we paid probably above slightly above his market value, but a player that can, go on and be a stalwart at United for a long period of time, or if he even turns into a semi-decent player, you should be able to get a good portion of that money back given his age. So this was kind of the first of the most promising deals that we saw. If you continue into January, we obviously paid a lot, but young, top talent like Cheeto Obi, like Sekou Kone. So I like the Lenny Euro transfer. I think he really kind of hit form the second half of the year, but injuries, he broke his foot in preseason. So it's tough whenever you have a youngster coming in for big money, but I like that. And then he followed up with another center back signing, a more established player who did break into the scene at a similar age as Lenny Euro, is Matthias de Ligt. He came as part of a 38 million pound package, but it was a 60 million pound double deal with Bayern along with Mazraoui. So he came in big money, 195,000 pounds a week. I like the profile. I think both of us like the profile, but the injury concerns. He has had injuries before. He had injuries in the Bundesliga, and he had injuries this year. I thought he was really good. Probably one of the best signings when he was fit of the ones we made over the summer. But the injuries let him down. That's everything in football.
And we also signed Mazraoui as well as part of that deal.
Mazraoui as well. He was the cheapest signing of the day. He's around 16 million pounds, 27-year-old Moroccan international, also came from Bayern, a 4-year deal, 135,000 pounds a week, and very much an inverted fullback who actually worked well under Ten Hag. In theory, I don't think he's kind of found his feet the same way as we'd have liked under Ruben Amorim, but his first half of the season was really good. I just think he played too much. If you look, he actually played the most games of any Manchester United player, even eclipsing Bruno Fernandes this season. And I think you started to see the breakdown in the quality of his performances, especially when Diallo went down, around, maybe past January transfer window. So that was a tough one. And then last but not least, a player that I rated quite a bit, but I don't think he's lived up anywhere near the expectations, especially for the fee, is Manuel Ugarte, the young 23-year-old Uruguayan CDM from Paris Saint-Germain.
Just won the Champions League.
They did.
Without him.
With his replacement. His replacement was almost like for like money, this young kid coming out of Portugal, who's a more dynamic player. Now, in terms of like what he does well, he leaded the charts in the Premier League in tackles. He's a dog, but he's a very one-dimensional player. I'm hoping he can get better next year, but it's an odd one because they're talking about already signing another midfielder to pair alongside Bruno Fernandes and those holding two. But we signed Ugarte. He was the second biggest transfer of the last 12 months. So this is one that maybe
INEOS were leaky bucket. We're just like plugging the bucket with the wrong profile, and we called it out when we saw it. Hey, all he's going to do is just beat up the midfield, create a bunch of tackles. You looked at his progressive passing numbers; they're very down. You compare it to like a Rodri in the modern game. Like if you're going to play with Bruno in the two, you need like a Rodri who can do it all, and you need that complete player or that prospect. Ugarte was more focused on the tackling, so. At the end of the day, we saw that, and we saw him struggle in the Premier League.
We did, and I'm hoping that the team, as we kind of figure out our starting 11, that is more consistent. It was kind of a jumbly mess. He was trying out so many different things. He was in the 11 with Casemiro, then he was out, and it was a bit all over the place. So maybe another summer of training with the crew abroad. He'll find his feet a little bit more. And the last one was Seko Kone, came in out of Africa, 18-year-old. Low fee, £4 million. And these are the type of deals that I'm excited to see. I think they're the most promising deals we've seen under INEOS. If you bunch in the Aiden Heavens and the Cheetah Obies of the world, which is kind of low cost, low risk, young profile player that they can build into someone that can contribute on the first team level for in a couple of years' time. He's further away, obviously, than Aiden Heaven, who's already made an impact, and Cheetah, who started as well, but a very talented player. So that was the incoming, sir. So this was an INEOS summer, but very much backing Erik Ten Hag, and a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, quite a bit of money outlaid, mainly focused on defense. If you look at Ugarte, CDM, Mazraoui, fullback, Delit, and Lenny Euro, obviously the only attacking talent we really got in was Xerxes, and you looked at Højlund last year, you're like expecting him to do quite a bit. And, with Marcus Rashford and other players, like, where are the goals? We talked about it in the season preview. Where are the goals going to come from? We knew going in, INEOS had to look at the data, and they had to know there weren't enough goals in this team. And lo and behold, there weren't enough goals in this team. And you can't be playing that type of game when you're running the roster at Manchester United. Now, outgoings, Aaron Wan-Bissaka went to West Ham for $15 million. Scott McTominay went to Napoli for $25. Greenwood went to Marseille for $26. Not so bad on the sell side for Manchester United, although these players would go on to probably exceed their values after they were transferred.
All three of those are killing it, by the way.
Basically, United just ruins all players, and they go somewhere else. There's less pressure. They enjoy their football. All bets are off. Varane left as a free. We weren't going to sign him due to age. Martial left on a free as well. Brandon Williams, he left on a free, and then obviously has his personal issues. Donny van de Beek was let go for cheap. So not enough outgoings in my opinion here. And there's players that, like for like, Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Mazraoui, is that really going to improve the team? I don't know. Scott McTominay, Ugarte, is that really improving the team? Probably not. Obviously, Ugarte more on the defensive side. Scott likes to get forward. Greenwood, the note on basically we get the sell on from there. I think nobody protested him going to Marseille. I thought that was a strong deal. Some selling activity for INEOS, which is good, but maybe who we sold and then who we brought in, that's what I would question. Obviously, they had just gotten in you can maybe excuse the time. They tried to probably do too much in this window. I think when you have Ten Hag struggling off of a poor season, you come into this one, I think less is more almost, where you let him deal with his team and maybe not bring in so many players. But they didn't really improve United too much.
And you're bringing players from outside leagues. I think they're learning already in this transfer window is we want to, if we're going to pay up and we're going to pay big money, 60 million plus for a player, we're going to sign it from the EPL. It's the best league, and it's not even the best league. It's like almost night and day versus the other leagues because of the pace and physicality that you have in the English Premier League versus even, I know Italy can be pretty physical, but the pace in England is insane. Net spend was around 110 million, depending on how you slice it, after 100 million sales. And the wage bill, that was the big one, trimmed by 800,000 pounds a week. Amazingly, Varane and Martial, AWB to a certain extent. But like you said, you brought in a couple players. You lost McTominay. You never think you need those goals. And then Joshua Zirkzee really didn't contribute that much.
I mean, would McTominay do a better job in that role that Zirkzee did? Probably. And that's sort of where United are at these days, where, you're asking too much of younger players coming in and playing these positions. Look, there was an age reset in the team. The average age of signings was 22.4, and they're all under 200K a week, except for De Ligt, I think, who is the higher paid individual. But United are trying to get younger. You can see that INEOS is doing that, and they did follow up in January. But, sir, let's get into the season proper. We start off with the Community Shield. And you know what? Didn't go too well because we lost it, and actually Jadon Sandwich missed the penalty that led to United losing the Community Shield. Really, I'm not really bothered about the Community Shield. Would have been nice to beat City. We actually played better than we both thought we would. Who knows how serious City was taking this game. But at the end of the day, it's a glorified friendly, and Sandwich bottles it for United.
And then, you know what? They didn't probably take it that seriously at the beginning of August, but at the end of the year, it was the only piece of silver they won. And I think that was the first time in Pep's career where he basically went trophyless. So he said, Community Shield, it did count. We won the more important cup early in the season. So you're right. We actually played decently well, but we played decently well in May when we won that final in the first place. The season opened United with a tight, squeaky opener against Fulham. Zirkzee ultimately getting a late winner. But then the pain, yeah, that was it. I like that. Pain would start. United lost 2-1 afterwards to Brighton after 2 goals are overturned by VAR, 2 of our goals. And then João Pedro scored a 95th minute winner to the heart. Unbelievable moment. So yeah, what could have been, I think, you get this win. You have the Brighton game change differently. But the moment of the month for me was Zirkzee winner against Fulham, just because it felt fun, and Old Trafford, hadn't realized how bad United was going to be. So we could pull up that goal. And then player of the month coming out of the gates hot was Ahmad Diallo, who had a hell of a season when you take out the fact that he got injured the second half of it. I mean, if he kept that form going past his injury in the winter, maybe the season would have changed a little differently, especially in Bilbao.
Yeah, and the season opener is a big one, and we just want to comment on that before we get into the moment of the month. I kind of view the season opener for Manchester United every year, including this one under Ruben Amorim, coming off of a struggling season, sets the tone for the entire season. And back-to-back years, we had like a bluffing performance in the season opener that Varane bailed us out on that led to that struggle bus Ten Hag season. And once again, we came out of the gates at home against Fulham and just absolutely made a meal of the game, and Zirkzee bailed us out. And like, this is that false dawn. When you see if we come out in 25-26 under Ruben Amorim's system and we're not ticking, we're going to be in huge trouble. But let's get into the Joshua Zirkzee winner at Fulham, the machine gun celebration, sir.
Not enough winners.
Not enough.
Zirkzee with space in which to operate. Casemiro, Garnacho, and McTominay! Zirkzee wheels away. He's made his mark on opening night.
Not an easy finish there. Not an easy finish. You have Scott McTominay still on the pitch for Manchester United. Everybody enjoying it, but again, it was really a struggle bus game. It would end at the league position in first. And that was the last time you'd see that.
Yes, it would. We'd fall very quickly late in the season. Like I said, we lost to Brighton 2-1, 2 goals overturned. And then let's get into September, find your level. How do we open it up?
We lost at home against Liverpool 3-0. It was atrocious. We would follow that up in the league with a win against Southampton, drawing Crystal Palace, and then losing to Tottenham at home 3-0. We finished September 13th in the EPL. It was struggle bus from the start. Erik ten Hag, I mean, this is where you probably sack him. You invest this type of money because you're looking at October. They held strong with Erik ten Hag through September. EFL Cup, we demolished Barnsley 7-0. That gave the lads some juice. And the Europa League, we drew 20-1 after 19 shots to low. Had an error leading to a goal. 4 straight year United failed to win their opening European match. We struggled in Europe, but we went undefeated all the way to the final. So looking back on it now, pretty positive. But overall, a pretty negative month for Manchester United. Only 2 wins, one against Southampton, who would be relegated, and another against Barnsley.
Not great. We came into the gates in terms of finding our level. We found it early. This was a lot of the continuation of how we were playing the latter most half of the previous season under Erik ten Hag, when he arguably should have been fired before the FA Cup final. And like you said, the boos were already starting. The Erik ten Hag out chants were starting as early as the 1st of September after we got beat up 3-0 at home against the Scouse Bastards. So United fans, he didn't come in with very much leash because people were already fired up. People were already frustrated. Cups help. But at the end of the day, United has to watch this fucking football week in, week out at Old Trafford. And they don't like getting beat up out there across the region rivals who we hate so much losing to.
Yeah, and the moment of the month, telling you how the month went, Bruno was sent off against Spurs. Let's just play that real quick.
Mainu. Founded on Van de Ven. Maddison. Tackled in somewhat roughhouse fashion, and it's a red card.
It's a red card. Bruno Fernandes, the captain, sent off. This is how the season went, honestly. If you're listening right now, you're an OG. Because we're about to get into October, and we would fire our manager. If you want to relive, this is therapeutic, sir. You got to relive it. It's good to remember it, relive it, and then just set it off to the side and never speak of it again.
This season is getting, buried in the. I'm watching Casino at the moment. Buried in the desert, bro. We're burying this in the desert after this podcast is done. Let's keep moving along. October, time to pack your shit and go. United draws 0-0 to Aston Villa. We only had 2 shots on target. Hit the bar. Onana made a big save late. United would end up winning 2-1 against Brentford. Garnacho had a banger and a rare Hoyland winner. And another late save from Onana, and then United lost 2-1. This was it. This was the death blow to West Ham. Jared Bowen winning with a stoppage time goal, and Hammers singing, "You're going to get sacked in the morning," and he got sacked shortly after, sir.
Yeah, we also had Europa League results as well that were draws against Porto and Fenerbahce. We did beat Leicester in the EFL Cup, but that was already when Ruud had come in. And that was, I think, Ruud's first game as interim manager. But yeah, look, Erik ten Hag, he leaves us. End of an era. Our eras always come to an end. I think that's what his comment was against Pep Guardiola.
They did.
He leaves Manchester United. I don't think this is a controversial decision. United were 14th in the league. We had played, I want to say, almost 10 games in the league. Things were not looking good in Europe. And the football was just abysmal. And INEOS backed him to the tune of, what, 200 million in the summer. I thought that was a mistake. More Dutch. We got more Dutch. I think you just kind of let him hang himself with the current roster he had in the summer. I don't know why they kind of went big. INEOS got greedy. We won the FA Cup. We got Europe, and they said, let's invest the money. Let's go for top 4. I think that's the plan that Sir Jim came up with if we're going to get top 4. That's why they kind of gave Erik ten Hag. But as you know, once you're a dead man walking as a manager, it's hard to get the troops behind you. And these have a group of bluffers, and the players were half in, half out probably, and that cost him his job. He left 128 games managed. That's the 3rd most games managed at Manchester United since Sir Alex. He spent £615 million. That is the most any manager has spent under Sir Alex. I would argue is the worst money spent and the most. 2 trophies, tied for the most with Mourinho. He won the League Cup and the FA Cup. He brought us our first 2 trophies on this podcast. and still the only 2 trophies while he'd been covering Manchester United. He had a 54.6% win rate, second across Sir Alex since Mourinho. So basically, Mourinho's the only one with a higher win rate. Ruben Amorim's in 38th percentile right now. I want to say LVG was around 53. Actually, Ole was 53. I think LVG was 52, to give you an idea of where Erik ten Hag stands. Now, the stats are friendly to Erik ten Hag if you look at it. 2 trophies, 54.6% win rate. But you look at the money spent, and you look at, if you're just watching the games, was very difficult because there was always this question over what is the plan. He always said he couldn't play the way he wanted, and it was like hard to dissect exactly what was going on. I even feel like under Ole, it was very clear. We were like, bang counter. Like we were really, like, we would go to places and play a certain way. There was like, Erik ten Hag had a very difficult way of describing how he wanted to play, and the results were mixed, and it just felt like we were just drowning always. And it was Hero Ball FC kind of bailing us out, a la Fellaini under LVG, and he got really defensive and gaslit the fans on like the brass tacks of winning trophies. And I just think at the end of the day, when it goes bad, it goes bad. And I think no one really argued with him leaving Manchester United.
Yeah, and if anything, obviously, if you could play Monday morning quarterback and rewind the tape, you would have fired him after the FA Cup final, let him do the Ange, move on to greener pastures, and we can get in a new manager. I think the thing that, obviously the recruitment was very, very poor. I would agree with you. Some of the, especially like the transfer fees, $85 million for fucking Anthony. Mount has been a huge failure of a signing. Nana, Hoyle, it's that. But he was I'll give him one thing. The thing that killed him beyond the signings was he was an excuse maker. Beyond excuse maker. Like you said, he gaslit the fans. And I think United fans, even with the lack of kind of reasons to be excited about Ruben Amorim, he, for the most part, is a straight shooter. I think the fact that Erik ten Hag make excuses for everything pissed off this fan. I know it pissed off you, and pissed off a lot of fans. Because
I wanted to see better football.
Yeah, me too.
He didn't have a plan.
But he said it was good. But the whole was, just let me finish.
No, I'm just saying.
He said it was good. We would play like shit, and you'd be like, no, we played like that. Fans can't handle. So at the end of the day, I'm glad we picked up 2 pieces of silverware. He should have gotten fired after the FA Cup final. And it made last season just a fucking shit show. I mean, everything worse because then you brought in a guy mid-season. We'll get into that in a second. But he did all right in the cups. I appreciated that. And you know what? Sometimes you need a cup manager, but he's got to go. And he's the kind of guy who should have nothing to do with recruitment. And he's already he's making waves in the press now that he's joined Bayer Leverkusen. They're like, I had nothing to do with Anthony. That just such a
no,
shit.
that is like, that also is crazy.
Buy him back.
That pisses me off because clearly he gave the green light on that. When it comes down to Erik ten Hag, the error that was made was INEOS. INEOS bottled it because they bottled the decision to keep him in the summer of 2024. They should have let him go, just like Spurs did with Ange. It gives him no hard feelings. He basically thought he was leaving. He was waving to the fans like he's going to leave. Won the FA Cup. And then it's a new project. You move on, spending the extra money, ruining the season basically by having it just be like a broken season with firing your manager in the middle of it after spending that money just made the disaster even worse. I feel like they dug the ditch deeper by keeping ten Hag and investing more in that system. Like you saw the system, it wasn't worth spending the money. And INEOS is really to blame for why it got as bad as it did. Now we have to dig back out of that hole that was created. But the moment of the month in October was Harry Maguire saving a point away in Porto at the death 90th minute. Harry Maguire had some headers this year.
Richardson's corner. A thunderous header from Harry Maguire. Boy, Manchester United needed that.
Yes, we did. Manchester United always need goals. And that was a great header by Harry Maguire. Player of the month, Garnacho, 2 goals across all competitions, sir. And Ruud van Nistelrooy, interim manager at Manchester United. He would manage, 3 games, beating Leicester City twice and drawing Chelsea. So we drew Chelsea, beat Leicester City, and then drew Ipswich Town as we brought in our new man, Ruben Amorim, appointed as head coach for Manchester United. Definitely a surprise. This is crazy, where you're already in November and you're like, bam, new head coach. And it's the new hot thing in Europe from Sporting Lisbon.
And by the way, just looking at history, and I like history because it often repeats itself. last time we fired a manager midseason, it didn't get better. It's like it got arguably worse. And I think we saw that again. It's like you really can't put yourself in a position where you want to be firing your manager mid-year because it just throws everything out the window. And this, once again, was a disaster. Kind of like Rangnick coming in, that was also a disaster. It's just that we hit a lower floor this year. But I think Ruben Amorim, both you and I were hopefully like a little optimistic, but also concerned because he had a certain style of play that United was not set up to play. The three at the back. We knew he was stubborn. He talked about he didn't want to come in mid-season. So we were concerned because at the end of the day, the league proved it. It's never been more competitive. I think he just wanted to kind of see out the season. And then this appointment came, there's other big news in December around front office changes that only made this worse. Like, what the fuck's going on in Manchester United? So this is like giving your kid, like the fucking motorcycle. He wants a motorcycle. It's cool. It's fun. It's dangerous. And this is it's a dangerous appointment because
this is
we
horrible.
got worse in the league, and he hasn't proven to be like a cup winner because he should have won that FA Cup, not FA Cup, the Europa League Cup. So you would not say INEOS got this right thus far.
No, the equivalent is just like you're there bleeding out on the pavement, and you're like, you need something like sturdy to like come fix it. You don't need some experimental thing that works like 2 out of 20. You need like Big Sam works 15 out of 20. You need something boring. United needed to stop the bleeding. They need stability. I like the idea of what Dan Ashworth allegedly proposed or was rumored to propose. I don't care about who the manager is. I just like the idea of, hey, we got to admit that this team is not ready and that it's going to take a couple of transfer windows to like build the base and get and stabilize the patient here that is Manchester United. We've been bleeding out for over a decade. The finances show you everything you need to know. And maybe the next hot thing is like to play a new way that doesn't fit the existing team, just increases the risk of failure and increases the probability that this won't work. And I just think after sacking and backing and sacking and backing different managers with different systems, like we needed the director of football to have full control. He could build a roster and then hire a manager to fit that system, whether that manager people liked or not. I just felt like we needed to be more boring. I thought INEOS would get more boring, and they went full Muppet. Like, because if you asked the Muppets who to hire as coach, be like Ruben Amorim.
We would have,
and you ask the best director of football in Europe, he's like, no, you need a boring manager. This roster's in shambles, and you need to like be pragmatic and save money and make maybe boring signings and stabilize this team. And that's the direction I wanted United to go. We did not go in that direction. And so, you know what? Now that I'm going to say my piece, I said my piece when we appointed Ruben Amorim. People got upset. I said my piece now. I'm fully behind him, right? I like him as a character. If you ask me who I want to hang out with, Gareth Southgate, I want to grab a beer with him, or I want to hang out with Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim looks cool. I could get some fashion tips from him.
Cool
like cool guy, white tee, going clubbing in Porto. Like that's where we want. Like we don't want to be
Gareth Southgate, bro. Like Graham Potter. No, thank you.
Like that's what I'm saying. Or Eddie Howe. You want to go hang out with that guy? He seems so boring. Like the idea about this signing is everything about it. It's just like he's got the Iberian Peninsula flair, and he's got more of a Mourinho vibe. You saw that in the press coming in. He looked great, and then Ipswich, smack in the mouth. I think was ultimately what happened.
It was. It's crazy who his first goal scorer was. We'll talk about that in a second. But no, sugar high signing. It's like signing, like you said, like the Muppets are choosing, and that should never be the case. But he did get smacked in the mouth. It ended up being a draw, but a team like Ipswich, given the context, United should be going on and looking to beat them, especially given the I feel like Ruben van Nistelrooy had more wins as an interim manager at Manchester United than he had at Leicester. He had a horrible career as a manager of Leicester last year after he left United. But it's not like old Ruben Amorim's season turned much better. Let's get into that draw. Like you said, it was 1-1 on the road. Amorim's first match. Rashford got an early goal. It's canceled out by another late Diallo mistake. He had a bunch of mistakes in the fall, contributing to a lot of goals, sir. And they also had Europa League. United rolled PAOK 2-0. Ahmad had a curler and a brace. As also United hit the bar twice. And then we also beat Bodo Glimt 3-2. Højlund getting a decisive brace. Moment of the month. We'll talk about Ahmad's curler. He had a bunch of moments of the month. This one was against PAOK.
Buckley wins the ball back. He's pulled back. Still going here. Ahmad edge of the penalty area. Gets a shot. It's absolutely sensational from Ahmad.
Ahmad, man, he was just playing lights out. It's good to
was.
remember, the season recap is good for the moments like this where you realize, hey, Ahmad was like lights out. And so maybe when we see this next season, you're going to be like, hey, we can really count on him to own that spot. He's not going to play 10. He's got to play wing back. So that's going to be a very interesting, this is, it's going to be very interesting.
Yet, dude.
But he's playing the right 10 here because Maz is on the field. And so that's where we get with this Amorim thing where I'm like, we got good players. Is it the system? Is it the players? And this is always going to be the debate that fans have forever and ever. But look, it really got worse, sir. You get into December, and this is when you start bleeding out. When I talked about bleeding out, this is and Amorim called it. He said in the press, it's going to there's dark times ahead. He hasn't pulled too many punches at all talking about the season. But the one thing that did happen is that in December, Dan Ashworth
What the fuck?
was dismissed.
Still
by
not
INEOS.
over
this
this.
is kind of getting into the rumors that have come out about this is that Ashworth wanted to go a different direction with the managerial appointment, whether that be Southgate or a Graham Potter, someone who plays the four at the back, and then kind of have a more boring approach to building the team over time. And INEOS and Sir Jim, who is way more involved day to day than you and me would think. I think a billionaire come in, he'd hire Dan Ashworth, he'd back him for 3 to 5 years, and then take stock at the end of that. I feel like if you have a director of football, if you have a coach, you can evaluate him over 18 months. I think if you have a manager, could be evaluated from 18 months to 2 years. A DOF has to be given 4 years.
Especially given what he
3
inherited.
windows.
Yeah.
Because it's about who you buy, how do you sell, how are those deals negotiated, how do they play on? And I feel like for him to come in and be dismissed, by the way, we paid a lot of money to get him.
Waited.
Paid money to fire him. Again, also paid a lot of money to fire Ten Hag too. So INEOS looking very rash here with these decisions. And then you look at Amorim and these results, and that's kind of what makes this a tough pill to swallow.
No, I mean, this is the one where, okay, the Ten Hag, Ruben Amorim, those ones you could almost get behind. You could understand. There's an argument to be had. This is Sir Jim overreach. And we've seen this continue into today. It's like Sir Jim is far too involved. Like you said, he has no...
Brailsford now gone,
Which is actually, that is fine because
Well, why
Brailsford's
is he
a
in?
fucking
But
cycling guy.
You can't have people coming
I
in
agree.
and out.
No, it's bad for business.
If your
No
execs
stability.
have to be evaluated over
The fact they gave this guy 5
6
months
quarters is
after
crazy.
courting him for longer than 5 months, this was the first red flag where it's like maybe INEOS has no fucking clue what they're doing. Especially because I think if you hire good people, you let them do their job, you check in regularly, set objectives for them, and keep them honest on that. But at the end of the day, this is different. This is like Sir Jim is the fucking. He's the judge, jury, and executioner. He decides everything. He leans in when he wants to. He steps back. I'm not involved. He blames other guys. And when they fired Dan Ashworth, it's like, oh, we're fucked because INEOS, we're at the whim of a 72-year-old billionaire, bro, who doesn't know shit about running a football club. He's proven that with Nice. So let's get into this. Like you said,
But there's 3 big calls they've made. I've argued that keeping Ten Hag wrong, hiring Amorim wrong, firing
it's 0 for 3, bro.
and picking the director of football, they were wrong.
Yeah.
So the first 3 big calls they've had to make in the first 2 years, I think they got all 3 of those wrong. That's footballing decisions, right? It's very, you could maybe say, hey, the financials, they look to be getting those in line, but the footballing side of the house, they seem to be taking the playbook from the Glazers, right? And that's kind of where, I hope they get better. And you know what? You need to make mistakes, but they are kind of batting 0 for 3 from my perspective.
Sir, if the Glazers had made the right choice of hiring smart people, they hired smart people. It's just that the Glazers would move back to Florida and not even get involved at all.
Yeah, but if you hired Ashworth,
it would work if they just gave them time and gave them didn't interfere with the day-to-day operations of how they were running the club. It's like it was the worst of both worlds. It's like they hired really good people, and then Sir Jim decides that he knows better. Why the fuck would you know better, bro? You're smart, you're really rich, but all your money is made in a completely different domain. So at least the Glazers would be hands off, but they also appointed dopes in Ed Woodward and John Martell. So let's get into that December. So the streets ran red with blood. Like you said, we smoked Everton to start the month, and we lost 2-0 to Arsenal, absolutely toothless. 1 shot on target. Onana saved a late penalty. United lost 2-3 to Forest at home. Long involved late. He was involved in both defeats to Forest this year. Obviously, like you said, we fired Dan Ashworth. And then we had this great comeback win against City. Late comeback win. Onana with a penalty save on Holland. then a Bruno penalty, and Ahmad with an insane winner that will be our moment of the month. We got annihilated. I remember this game. Jesus, 3-0 right after against Bournemouth.
Yeah, Wolves 2-0. This is when you're like, hey, is
No.
Amorim the guy? You
No,
know,
I was already
like right here.
He's been here for 6 weeks.
Right here, you're like, this is not going well.
No.
You know, this is really not going well. Then losing to Newcastle, Liverpool, we drew. There was a little fight there. But that was early January, you know. But, sir, Europa League, we beat Victoria Plzen 2-1. EFL Cup, we dropped out of the quarterfinals, losing against Spurs. That would basically be the 4 losses to Spurs. We lost to Spurs twice in the league. They did the double. Lost to them in the EFL Cup. They knocked us out. I actually didn't think this was bad because we need less games ultimately because we were bleeding so hard, and then they beat us in the Europa League. Final moment of the month, Ahmad had a late winner versus Man City. Let's listen in.
It was a good
Ahmad.
one.
It stays like this, it'll be 1-1 in 11 games for Manchester City. And it could get worse still because this is Ahmad and he's round the keeper and he's tucked it in. And
Insane
we've got
goal.
What a player.
Insane goal.
Watch that goal. You know, you should look it up on YouTube, the Man City Ahmad winner. Totally worth it. Like these goals and his performances, bright spot in this season.
And I like to think what could have been if he did not get that big injury and then all of a sudden was like a late. I know he featured in the final, but I think if he continued this form, you know, somebody else could have taken up the burden other than Bruno Fernandes, who did not have a good final, like we talked about. Moving into January, sir. A new year, same United. Let's get into it. United opened with a gutsy 2-2 draw at Anfield, like you mentioned, against our heated rivals, the Scouse Bastards. United left late to win 3-1 against the worst team in the league, Southampton. Ahmad with a 12-minute hat trick. Unbelievable. We lost 3-1 to Brighton. That's when Ruben Amorim famously called the display the worst United side in history. That wasn't great. And then United win 1-0 to Fulham at Craven Cottage. Martinez scored. Onana with some big late saves. Also, Martinez being key in a lot. He was key in that gutsy 2. He scored at Anfield. He obviously had the assist to City, and then he once again went down with another big injury.
Great player.
Dude, he's a great player, but his injury record, if you can't stay fit, don't matter how good you are. Eric Bailly, Philly Jones. It's like if you get injured, bro, this league and this sport is all about staying fit. You stay fit, you can be a legend. If you get hurt all the time, what if could have been, sir. So moment of the month was Ahmad's 12-minute hat trick against Southampton, and he was obviously the player of the month with 4 goals in all comps. We also beat Arsenal in the FA Cup 4-2 with Bayindir making 2 saves in the shootout and then a save in regular time as well.
This is a huge win. This was kind of a galvanizing win, kind of showing some potential. Also, Bayindir stepping up with those chops. Europa League, we beat Rangers at home 2-1, stoppage time winner. We've been getting bailed out late, and we beat FCSB to finish the group stage unbeaten, and we would be heading in. We actually got to skip the extra games.
Somehow.
So basically, as you finish in the table in the Europa League, but like even just reviewing the season, it's way worse than you remember. Like how many games we lost. But let's finish with the moment of the month here for January, and then we'll get into the summer January transfers here for Ahmad against Southampton.
The many years ahead, and here he is again!
I mean, Ahmad making that kid look good. He is the bright spot, honestly. The 3-month run he had, November, December, January, looking great for Ruben Amorim, looking like the bright spot in the attack. The injury that he would get that's a backbreaker. Like, where are the goals going to come from? And speaking of goals, we did sign a left wing back in Patrick Dogu. A lot of people say his name is Dorgu. Just to set the record straight, it is Dogu, sir.
Pronunciation police, sir. United.
Look it up. You can look at YouTube videos how to pronounce the name in Danish. It is Dogu. That's how it's pronounced. I know we get a lot of feedback on this one.
We got a lot of feedback.
Drop a comment below if you're listening on YouTube about the Dogu pronunciation.
Don't maybe bring up Kobe Manu, where he got his name from. Patrick Dogu, of course, out of Lecce. And we signed Aiden Heaven for a cheap deal. Dogu was the big one, 30 million euros, around 24 million pounds. He's a prospect. He is a raw individual. We saw him in person when ARD was abroad in the spring. He's a unit. He's got great pace. He needs time. I'm very, very excited about Dogu. I am very much behind Dogu. I think he's a great signing. It's just that we need time, and we always put too much fucking pressure on these youngsters too early. Another great player who John and I also saw in his debut against Arsenal when he came on at halftime was Aiden Heaven. He had a couple of nervy minutes, and then he found his feet really well. So the incomings I liked a lot. It was just that when you looked at the outs, we got rid of Marcus Rashford, Anthony, and Hannibal, and Jadon Sandwich, and we didn't bring in any more goals. And that was, I think, we had a lot of problems. Listen, we had a ton of problems, but at the end of the day, we couldn't score. We couldn't score routinely enough. We couldn't score against Spurs in that final, sir. You know, they had one shot on target, and we still couldn't find a way to score against a team that somehow finished below us in the league. So that was really the January of note. It was like they shipped out all these players. They didn't really do anything to help their coach try and get more points this season.
Yeah, look, it wasn't looking good. They were just trying to save cash. But the one that I had real issue with was, I get it, Rashford and Amorim fell out. Loaning Anthony to Betis was the wrong call. And I called it out at the time. It was like the timing of the footballing gods. They are cruel. We loaned him out at the last minute. I was like,
Ahmad got hurt right after.
That's what I said. What happens if Ahmad gets hurt? And then he got hurt right after. And it's like, and then we were done. And then it got even worse. And so while the loan might lead to us selling him, but Betis isn't coming up with big cash to buy Anthony. Like, no one's lining up to pay big money right now. And we needed a player there that could have helped us probably win the Europa League. And ultimately, you need bodies. Like, Anthony's like, I don't rate him, not worth the price tag, but he's better than the options we had in attack. It was just Højlund, Garnacho, like just running that back every time you put Anthony in there, give you a different flavor, especially at the Europa League level. I thought he could have contributed. And the fact that we got rid of these players, got rid of goals, didn't get any goals, hurt the team. We really struggled to score. Bruno had a little bit of a flare-up of goals that like kind of boosted us to the final. But that really cost us. I
mean, you had no one at the end, all right? Because Ahmad went down. Garnacho had an off season. Højlund had a horrible season. Xerxes got hurt too. It was like you were screwed all over. Let's get into February. Shortest month of pain. United lose 2-0 to Crystal Palace at home. Just 3 shots on target. That was brutal. Then we lost 1-0 to Spurs again. Son slid home a 57th minute winner after a Mazraoui turnover. United fight back 2-2 to draw against Everton on the road. Once again, not great.
15th and finishing 15th in the league. Player of the month, Maguire. He had a late winner versus Leicester City in the FA Cup. So the only team we could really beat up on was Leicester City. We'll take it.
Diallo joins the crowd. Fernandes. Hermanson has gone back to his line. It's Maguire! Manchester United have won!
He had some crazy goals for United this season. Him and Ahmad. You know, you think about it, a lot of the goals are coming from those two, which is hysterical. It's good to see Maguire with those dunk headers getting in. Look.
It's a good season. I mean, to be fair, Maguire had a nice season.
Let's jump into March.
Green, spring brings green shoots. You know, all things considered, it wasn't the worst month. And an ARD abroad, it wasn't. It wasn't the worst month by any regard. We were involved in both the games that happened early in the month. So United drew 1-1 to Arsenal. Bruno had a screamer free kick right in front of the Stretford End right before our first half. We were there for that in our new seats. And United, I thought, showed some of the most fight we showed all season in the second half of this game. Pushed really hard, nearly won it. Xerxes had a huge chance at the end. And then United stomped Leicester 3-0. Foxes were always good for a win this season. I wish we played them in Bilbao. Moment of the month was got to be Bruno's curler against Arsenal, and Bruno Fernandes, player of the month. 6 goals on all comps.
Yeah, he found his feet in March.
He did.
Also, FA Cup, we got knocked out by Fulham at home. Not a great sign. You know, that's the problem with that Arsenal performance. We were never really able to build on the momentum. Even though it was a draw, I felt like, Stretford End was in full voice. ARD abroad, we were also in the Europa League in Spain for Real Sociedad. That was a draw. We kind of got hard done by a VAR call. And then Bruno's hat trick, 4-1 over Real Sociedad at home. That moved us into the quarterfinals. That showed promise. The team was advancing, but then taking a step back in the FA Cup. So we were a little bit all over the shop, but let's check out Bruno's goal. Moment of the month, the free kick Arsenal. We were there. Muppets in the stands, and more importantly, the ownership protest.
Good point.
Arm in arm with 1958 beforehand.
Bruno Fernandes!
That was awesome. No, we needed it. Dude, the first half, like,
Oh, it was bad.
we've been going to United,
the Onana?
obviously, season
Onana.
tickets. Like,
Oof.
so it hasn't been good at United.
No,
So,
it's
like,
not.
always at the wheels last time we heard it really rocking. And then, like, it kind of gets toxic. The first half, Arsenal, people are just shouting, like, you bums. You like, and
bad.
it's like,
It was
then this
bad.
goal goes in and it kind of changed. But it's been a rough time, and people paid good money for those seats. So, they can take it out on them if you want. If you want to get, hey, the team sucks, you want to have a go.
Let them know.
All right, let's finish this thing. We're in April. We're almost there. April sucked. April was brutal.
What I said, April, take the horse out and shoot it behind the barn. United lose 1-0 to Forest away. Alonga scored within 2 minutes, and United only mustered one shot on target in the subsequent 88. That's how that day went. We had a hard-fought 0-0 draw against City. Both goalies with big saves. United got smoked 4-1 to Newcastle. That was a
bad.
rough one.
That was
where we
very
had,
bad.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it followed up by Wolves at home.
1-0. Hard done a little bit in that game, but fans weren't happy. Booing at Old Trafford.
Hard done.
We out
done.
XG.
The season.
Okay,
We're
fuck
just getting,
off.
like,
Okay,
murdered
stop.
all day.
Hoyland saves a point against Bournemouth as we draw 1-1. Moment of the month. Well, we'll talk about Europa League too. Sarah, tell us about Europa League. How did it go? It was dramatic.
Lyon 2-2 away, conceded, like have the comfortable lead, then concede. Then we came back and won 5-4. Insane moment in stoppage time. One of the craziest moments that you'll never remember because we lost the Europa League final in classic United fashion. Then we smoked Bilbao 3-0 away. They got a player sent off. So Europa League, things bouncing our way. Chaotic
Until the end.
And then it became this, like, the league is so bad. Well, we got Europa League. And then we started just kind of all of our hopes were on Europa League. And then when all your hopes are on something, you break your back. Moment of the month, Maguire's late winner against Lyon. I think this was probably the goal of the season, if you had to call it.
One of the great European nights here. Certainly one of the most extraordinary. Casemiro in there again. Maguire!
It just makes me
Now
mad. It just makes me mad.
Now you hate this
It just
goal.
makes me
Now
mad,
you,
bro.
you hate
Because
this
that
goal.
night was amazing. It should have
No,
been. You have to go on and win the
Sorry,
fucking thing.
I knew it.
Land the plane.
It's
Oh,
tough.
no. What did I call April? Go to May. May is not land the plane. It's crash the plane because that's how the fucking season ended. We did not land the plane.
No, it was
We crashed
brutal.
that shit.
And yeah, so the league, we lost 3. We won the last game we're going to try now after we lost the Europa League final, but May basically came down to the Europa League final. Hey, we could play well in some league games and win them on the way to the final, or we're just going to play like shit and lose every single game and just put it all in this one game in Bilbao. Spurs had all their key players injured, Madison out, Kulusevski out. Like, it was like there for the taking. All we needed, like we talked about before the podcast, was our captain, Bruno Fernandes, to step up and win us the final, have a great game. He shows up. I say the key theme is United just played horrible. We had no teeth in attack. Bruno played in the 2. The manager benched Garnacho. He started him every single game in the Europa League, then benched him. Now he's fallen out with the manager. Now he wants to leave. Everything that could have gone wrong did. The manager didn't change it till late. Ran out of ideas. Hoyland was floundering. It was a very bad final, and that's kind of, we don't even need to get into Bilbao in the first leg, but the whole season comes down to Europa League, right? You have a group of bluffers. We can't play well in the league. We're going to play like shit the entire time, get down to 16th in the EPL table, and then you put it all on the Europa League final, and then our big players didn't show up in the big moment, and we lose, and now United are in serious financial predicament because we don't have Champions League football. Now that could be a good thing if you think about it. That's take your medicine. Now United, we got away with one with Eric Ten Hag. We got away with one. We keep getting away, and then, like you said, we crashed the plane in the Europa League final. I still have trouble believing that this manager is the man to do it, or these players are the players to do it after that, because that's unforgivable. That was the final, like, Villarreal.
No, that was more understandable. This was he didn't do enough. At the end of the day, it's like, I know these players are bluffers, but this coach is supposed to be like one of the hottest things in European football. At the end of the day, I get it. You want to be stubborn to a point, but even Eric Ten Hag would realize that when shit wasn't working, he would throw in the kitchen sink. And the fact that Ruben Amorim didn't pull a defender at halftime when we created 0.2 XG in that first half, didn't do enough. You got to throw Eriksen on. He didn't do it. And he was just like, you know what? I'd rather lose with my philosophy than go on and win and be flexible.
No, he looked like deer in the headlights.
I have no reason. It's like
He
I'm
looked
backing
deer in
him
the
because
headlights,
I'm
dude.
backing him because he's the United manager, but he's giving me nothing to back other than he looks slick. He sounds slick.
No, it was a. Let's
he
put it this
bottled
way.
it, bro. He fucking bottled it.
Look, Ole got to the Europa League final.
Also bottled it.
Against like a Villarreal team. Look, we struggle against Spanish teams, but he looked like the moment was too big for him on the touchline. And guess what? Ole's first sub, tied in extra time, was Fred.
And he had less options, to be fair.
But if you want to, but that says a lot about a manager. It's like you're a Manchester United manager, like you're the better team in extra time, and you bring on a CDM. Now, Ruben Amorim, he looked like the moment was too big for him.
He did.
It looked like he was kind of deer in the headlights and didn't know what to do. And, that's not what he's supposed to be as the guy to run Manchester. Like when you see Gareth Southgate in a European final, with England, and the moment looks too big for him, you're like, yeah, that's about right for Gareth Southgate. Ruben Amorim doesn't look like he should be that guy. He's like a Mourinho. Like, hey, we're going to win. Instill the confidence in the players. He looked a little nervous. Didn't make the changes. United lose. I would say that puts the cap in this season, sir. We finish. No trophies, no silverware. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. We lost to FA Cup, lost to EFL Cup, lost to Europa League all the way to the final, and we lose, but we did make extra money making it to the final, around £5 million. And then in the league, we did not get relegated, which is good. We finished 15th, 42 points, negative 10 goal differential, sir, like we mentioned. 11 wins, 9 draws, 18 losses. Horrid, absolutely horrid showing from Manchester United.
And I hate to say it, but like every manager since Fergie that's won a piece of silverware, I think wins that. Even Van Gaal, I think they win that final. And the fact is like it's all about cups. Obviously this season is huge. We have never been. I know we finished second twice by like 20 points over the last decade. But at the end of the day, it's like you need to be able to do both. But also winning cups is super important. And I'm really nervous about Ruben Amorim. He's got to show it. Like you said, we're going to know on the season opener. The schedule's coming out in a couple days. It's coming out next week. We're going to know game one, bro. Mid-August, we're going to know right away whether this team has got it or doesn't. And I'm concerned. I am very concerned, but I'm back. I always
doing
back
the
our
season
manager.
review makes me more nervous.
It does,
because
that final was so winnable.
You and me
bro.
have you can tell the pod turned as soon as we got to the final. We started remembering how bad it was, and then
it was.
No, it hurt. It's like, and then the toxic fallout with Garnacho after made it worse, and then. But let's put it okay.
And then the postseason tour.
We're not covering the postseason tour, but
we did not win.
Well, look, that's it. That's the season. We're never going to talk about it again. Let's get through these awards. We'll get to the match prediction game with the final results there, and then send everybody off on their way, and we never have to think about 24-25 again. Player of the season. You voted for it, sir. Who is your player of the season?
It's got to be Bruno for me. I think if Ahmad had stayed fit, he'd be my pick. But at the end of the day, 16 goals, 11 assists in 51 matches. He was directly involved in 38% of our competitive 71 goals that we scored, and he overperformed XG by 6 goals, nearly 6 goals. So hat trick against Real Sociedad, game-winning penalties against City, Rangers. But I wanted him to score in that final. He did not have a good game in that final. But at the end of the day, he had a great, he had a productive season. It's just that United was terrible. So I can only imagine where we would have been if we did not have Bruno Fernandes or he got injured. Say he blew his knee out at the beginning of the season. Did we get relegated? Probably not, but it would be closer.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's Bruno Fernandes. I would say the only caveat being, like you said, I would prefer to pick Ahmad, but the injury. I think for the time he was playing, he was absolutely amazing. And Bruno had someone to pass to, but it has to be Bruno Fernandes. Got us to that final. Pretty much the reason we didn't get relegated. And then, gave away that 5-yard pass to Casemiro that led to Spurs goals in the final. So, he gives and takes away. And, it's tough to see your best player in those big moments for a team like Manchester United, living off scraps here. Most improved player of the season. Everyone voted here for Ahmad, sir. Who do you got most improved?
Yeah, I think you're going to see consistency in the fans and the two Muppets today, which is Ahmad is the most improved, I think, by a country mile. I think he would have been player of the year if he didn't get injured and even eclipsed Bruno because the level that he was playing at, that City goal, the 12-minute hat trick. And I would have loved to see him fit and firing, like with a proper season underneath him before that final. But it has to be Ahmad. I mean, he was showing so many good glimpses under Ten Hag, wasn't getting the minutes. And at least, Ruben Amorim shown that, as he does rate the youngster, because he's a hell of a youngster. He's been at United for quite a bit of time, and I'm glad he's finally finding his feet. He's also a humble lad, good kid. I hope Ahmad Diallo hits all the heights at Manchester United, because he's such a technically proficient player. He's like unbelievably talented.
He's in between those two positions, and that's a problem, And so,
especially the three at the back.
I do not blame Ahmad if he doesn't want to track back and play defense. Like, I do not blame that. He should be playing in 4-3-3 and play on the right wing.
Doesn't look like a fullback, bro.
No,
he's too
not.
small.
And so then it gets into this debate.
Stubborn Ruben
So
Amorim.
look, Ahmad has to be most improved. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Harry Maguire. I felt like he kind of stepped up big on the goal scoring side as well as defensively. I think De Ligt was the preference, playing in the center of the three, and then Harry kind of got in there because of De Ligt's injuries, and he actually played very well. He excels there for England, and just nice to see Harry Maguire enjoying his football. He never gives up on this team, never gives up late in games. We saw a bunch of late winners in Europa League as well. So I think I'm going to give an honorable mention to Harry Maguire. And then we're going to vote for biggest disappointment this season. Fans had Højlund by a country mile, with Onana and Rashford coming in close behind. I think he got a few of these. This season's been rough as far as biggest disappointment. Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the pitch, it's obviously Højlund to have that step down that he had while also leading the line. I just ended up feeling bad for him by the end of it. He looked completely lost. I think now, it's funny doing the recap. I think arguably the biggest disappointment of that 2024-2025 season is Ruben Amorim. He came in, won 38% of his games, bottled the final. He hasn't shown me a lot of things to be excited about. I will back any United manager to the hilt. I love this fucking club, but at the end of the day, it's like my eyes are telling me that you have real concerns that you have a manager that has a good philosophy, but if you're too fucking rigid, you're going to bury yourself. So Højlund on the pitch for sure. Onana as well, you give a shout. I think Diallo, you could give a shout. He was really good last season, but he had a lot of errors. When I did the match-by-match breakdown, he had a lot of big errors giving the ball away. But there's too many names to even pull out, sir. Højlund is the obvious one.
Rashford has to be up there.
That's a good point.
Just that didn't even give Amorim a chance.
He showed up.
He's not even, first, Rashford shouldn't even be on this list, but for me, Rashford literally was in New York at a Knicks game when Amorim was high. You got a new boss, you should be there. He's just on out to lunch. So Rashford's, for me, it's Onana. Another great Erik Ten Hag signing alongside Højlund. And, Anthony could be on here. You have a Hall of Fame of just bluffers that this guy overpaid for.
This guy, this season over.
We went to the Arsenal game, and Onana's kicking the ball out of bounds.
Oh, that was
so
insane.
Not only can he not, literally, he was brought in to do one thing. We took De Gea back to the woodshed, put him out of his misery, reneged on the contract. Not saying he'd be much better, but Onana was brought in to play the ball at the back because De Gea could not do that. And then he's the one kicking the ball out of bounds against Arsenal. He is we cannot, Højlund, and this is where I'll get to Onana's most disappointing for me. Højlund can play as backup or third string striker. Onana cannot play for Manchester United again. That's kind of where I draw the line. And I will take Højlund at United again, but he can't be the only guy.
Correct.
I will not take Onana after this past season at Manchester United.
Yeah, no, all day. Because Højlund, I think we put him at a disservice to him by starting him game and his confidence just got worse and worse and worse.
He got worse, though.
He did get worse. No,
and he has people telling him what to do, and he's not doing it.
Okay.
I do want to say that.
Let me make this point. He did get worse, but at the end of the day, you're right. He's also 22, and Onana's 29. And like you said, we signed him to do one thing, and if he's failing terribly at that one thing, that gives you real concern. So I agree. Onana's got to go. I have no problem running back Højlund as number 2 or 3 once again. Let's talk about next poll, sir. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, so we had to have a poll about the manager. To your point, interesting poll. Do you think Ruben Amorim is the right man for United moving forward? This is yes, 100% back and 46%, overwhelming. Leaning yes, some concern, 38.3%. Not sure yet, needs time, 12.8%. And no, not convinced, only 2%. I think that makes sense. It's look, majority of people back him, and there's some concerns. That's the overwhelming, 85% of fans. And then I'm more in the not sure yet, because leaning yes, some concerns would be I saw the system working. I saw how the three at the back could be useful in the Premier League and outsmart teams tactically. I saw it work. Not sure yet needs time is basically like, I have not seen it work. I didn't see it. It's not like if you look at Dogu and Mazraoui, we're not insanely threatening from the wing backs and like you're pushing most of your attacking play out wide. We're not seeing that. And, I think teams find it easy to play against Manchester United in this current system. And, can it succeed in the league? Yes, but has Amorim done it? So I'm more in the not sure yet, needs time. Where would you put yourself?
I from a Muppet perspective, I 100% back him because he is the manager of Manchester United. But just like reading the tape, reviewing the tape, I'm with you. I voted not sure yet, needs time because, like you said, there's nothing he has shown since he joined on the 12th, I believe, of November, that beyond his CV coming into the club and beyond honestly his pressers and just how fucking cool he looks on the pitch line. He's shown us nothing.
The counter argument is.
But the three at the back has not been effective in the EPL, and he also hasn't shown the ability to be tactically flexible within a cup competition in order to go on and win it, which all the managers that won shit since Fergie have been flexible enough. Even Mourinho, he would throw things out the window and just try whatever it took to win because they always know it's only about winning. Nothing else matters. So I'm not sure yet. I'm backing him to the hilt, but at the end of the day, you got to prove it to me that you can play fucking football in this league, which is literally there's no margin for error now. It's every year it gets so much more competitive.
Yes, and the counter to is these aren't his players.
Fair.
He had injuries and plus a lot of attacking loans, so it was really kind of like a throwaway season from INEOS above him, and it's going to be all about this summer and kind of how he can get everybody. For me, the bluffer ratio is high at United, and he has a 0 bluffer ratio tolerance. And so is he going to fall into the Ten Hag trap of fighting with the bluffers who he can't move on and needs to use versus focusing on winning? And that's ultimately the concern is you need to be more pragmatic at Manchester United. You need to calm the press down, not light the fire a little bit like he has done, and just focus on what is the best way to perform because we're not going to be able to get rid of 100% of our players. He's going to have to be pragmatic, and that means you might need to change the system. And he's proven he's inflexible, and we'll see how it goes for him. But I'm obviously cheering him. I want United to win. I can't watch more shit football between Ralph Rangnick and Erik ten Hag. Ronaldo, Erik ten Hag era, as funny as it was, that was the best era. More than 20 goals by a player at Manchester United. Team playing well, winning things. We were in the Champions League. We heard angelic voices. That was the last time where and that was not even great, but there was something to United then. Now there's not. It's been 2 seasons back to back of pretty miserable football, and we got to change it. But how are we going to change it? Last poll here. If you could pick one position for United to strengthen the summer transfer window, where are you putting money into work? 87% of fans say striker, need goals. What do you say, sir?
Yeah, it's goals. I'm going to say the goalie. You didn't list that one because that would probably get some pickup, especially over center back, which for the first time in a little bit, we have a decent cohort of young and kind of established center backs, but it's striker. I mean, look, Cunha's not really a striker. He plays all over, but he's a goal scorer, and that's why he's coming in. If we get Brian Mbeumo, he's also a goal scorer, not number 9, but we definitely need a target man, what Højlund should be, and that's one of the victors, and I want Victor Osimhen. Get him in, but we need a striker. We probably need 2 strikers, but we need one killer striker. What do you think, sir?
Yes. So my view on signings is that if you're world class, you have a 50% hit rate, right? So you almost need to sign double what you think you need. And United always sign less than we need.
Always.
So United, at a minimum, need a good striker. We need a good CDM. We need probably another right wing back and a goalie. And so you probably need to sign 2 wing backs, 2 midfielders, 2 strikers. That's but if you do that, you're probably going to be covered because you're going to find out who's the guy. So for me, as boring as it is, I think you need to focus on wing back. That right wing back position with Diallo there and Mazraoui, that's not enough in the Premier League, especially this system. It's if you think about the most critical positions that we don't have, it's that. And the number one way you're going to basically get Amorim to be successful is signing those players for a system. And we're not linked to anybody. We're not talking about that position at all. And we're talking about striker and barely CDM. And United are going to do that again. We're going to run it back with Maz and Diallo, Dogu, and Shaw. Like, that's what we're going to do. And it's not going to be enough because they're not dynamic. Those players are
enough.
Shaw's old, too slow.
Injured all the time.
Dogu is too raw, doesn't have the refined attacking abilities. Diallo, same thing. Not good enough on the attack, not good enough on the defense, and you're going to play Ahmad there. And so we're going to be doing this Ahmad right wing back thing, and that's next season already is going to be relying on that. It's good. It's already on this 2 midfield with Bruno in it, and then Ahmad at right wing back, and that's just the director of football moves are putting United in a tough spot. And we're going to cover this throughout the entire season. And our last thing we're going to mention is our score prediction game.
Who won?
Has come to an end.
Who won?
59 matches, if you can believe. We previewed and broke down all 59. We predicted all 59 matches. No surprise, sir, as I won the season predictions.
Surprise. This guy was like,
I won.
all I have to do is like not.
Hey, I'm just telling you, no surprise.
I know this guy forever. I know this guy.
No surprise. John won the season
this
predictions.
Is how he acts.
And I won the match predictions.
Are you getting Wagyu?
So let me get through it.
Okay, sorry.
I got 29 correct results, including 2 correct scores. So if anyone was listening, every correct result, you get 3 points. If you get the correct score, you get 10. That's kind of the key variable. I had 30 incorrect. So 29 correct, 30 incorrect. That's almost a 50% hit rate on match predictions. That's not bad. Alex, you were close. 26 correct results, including 2 correct scores, and 33 incorrect predictions. There's only 3 results that were the difference between my 101 points and your 92.
And when you keep in mind that I basically picked up no points until Ruben Amorim was appointed, I got no. I was like back in Ten Hag. I could have, if I wasn't such a fucking muppet.
Yeah, it was an exciting game, an exciting race. It's good to put something to it. So the steak dinner will be at Harris's in San Francisco. I'll be enjoying some fine steak with my amazing friend and co-host here on the podcast. We'll be enjoying it. And yeah, we're going to look at ways to allow fans to participate in this match prediction game next season because it's a ton of fun trying to predict the games. And
we don't have 59 at least.
Yeah, 59 games. That's crazy. I'm a little disappointed I wasn't over 50%. But United did have a rough. If you just had to predict losses, the whole way.
59 games. We played more games than we picked up points in the EPL. I mean, that's like brutal.
Well, that's it. That is this 24-25 season recap. Thanks for bearing with us. It is done. It is dusted. It's in the rearview mirror. Now we need to look forward at these signings. Lots of good questions and talking points we talked about on the podcast. Who are we signing? Why are we signing? Is INEOS going to make the right calls going forward? A lot of positives on the financial side, but on the footballing side, still a shit show like the Glazers. It's going to be exciting to see how this summer unfolds, how Amorim starts next season. Tons of questions for Manchester United. Also, we got the FIFA Club World Cup. We're going to be doing it. But if you want to support the podcast, remember to fill out our end of season survey. It's linked on Twitter. You can also check out our newsletter. It's linked up there as well. You can click on it, sign up, get American Red Devils news in your inbox. Check out our YouTube page. If you're listening on YouTube or watching, like, subscribe, comment. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/AmericanRedDevils. In our store, grab some merch, americanredevils.store. Everything that you buy supports this small-time operation. We do it for the love of the game, sir. We have an amazing community. And, we founded this podcast 2017. Been doing it quite a bit.
8 years.
United's only getting worse. And every year.
Get worse every year.
Every year we say this is the darkest before the dawn.
It's pitch black,
this
brother.
might actually be
Pitch black.
This is the darkest it's been.
Could get darker.
And we can keep saying this is the darkest before the dawn, but Ruben Amorim is going to bring the glory days again. Everybody have a great week. We'll be back with United in the News soon after this podcast.
Ruben Amorim, we'll bring the glory days again. We're back from the Stretford End. It's in the restaurant.